You did not start it. That is the thing you need to hear first. Before anything else in this video, before the explanation, before the psychology, before the name for what happened. You did not start it. What you did was finish it in the only way that was available to you after everything that came before, after the accumulation, after the patience that ran out, because patience has limits, and yours reached them after being tested in ways no one ever saw. And then they saw you in that moment. And that moment became the story, not everything that preceded it, not the months or years of quiet provocation, not the needling and the undermining, and the subtle cruelties that left no marks, not the walking on eggshells, not the constant monitoring, not the way you learned to read the atmosphere of a room the way other people read weather, because survival required it. Just that moment. Your voice raised, your words sharper than you meant, your face finally showing what it had been carrying. And they looked at you with that expression you will never forget and said, "See, this is what I have been dealing with." And suddenly, you were the abuser. And the worst part, the part that stays long after the relationship ends, long after you understand what actually happened, is that for a long time, you believed them. This video is going to tell you exactly what that was, what it is called, how it is built, why it works so devastatingly well, and why the fact that you finally reacted is not evidence of your instability. It is evidence of how long you held on before you did. Stay until the very end, because the last section is the most important thing I will say in this entire video. Let me start with what reactive abuse actually is. Reactive abuse is not you being abusive. That is the first thing to understand. The word abuse in the phrase describes the original, sustained, deliberate behavior that produced your reaction, not your reaction itself. Reactive abuse is what happens when a person is subjected to consistent, calculated provocation over an extended period of time, and eventually responds. Not initiates, responds. The response is what becomes visible. The provocation is what was always invisible. And that invisibility, that specific, designed invisibility, is the entire mechanism. Here is how it is built. The narcissist does not attack you directly, not in the way that would be visible, not in the way that would produce witnesses, not in a way that could be pointed to and named. They provoke, in ways that are small enough to seem like nothing from the outside. A comment that lands wrong, and they claim they did not mean it that way. A silence with a specific quality that you know means something, but cannot prove means anything. A subtle undermining in front of people that is worded just carefully enough to claim it was a compliment. A question that contains an accusation. A kindness that is actually surveillance. These things accumulate. Each one individually, dismissible. Collectively, devastating. Because your nervous system is not tracking individual incidents. It is tracking the pattern. It is registering the accumulated weight of 1,000 small cruelties that were each designed to be uncountable. And while this is happening, while the accumulation is building, You are managing it. You are managing the anger you cannot express because expressing it will be used against you. You are managing the hurt that has nowhere to go because your hurt is always turned back on you. You are managing the fear that something is genuinely wrong with this relationship, while simultaneously being told that the problem is your perception of the relationship. You are holding all of this, quietly, for a long time. And then one day, one specific day, often after something that by itself seems small, the holding fails. Not because you chose to let it fail, because the container was full. And what spills out? The raised voice, the sharp words, the tears that cannot be stopped, the door slammed, the thing finally said that had been building for months, becomes the moment. The moment they have been waiting for. The moment they have been deliberately engineering. Because this is the thing nobody tells you about reactive abuse. It is not accidental. The narcissist does not accidentally push you past your limits and accidentally benefit from your response. They are working toward it. Systematically. They know your triggers. They cataloged them early in the relationship when you trusted them enough to show vulnerability. They know exactly how much pressure produces which response. They know how to create the conditions for your reaction without leaving fingerprints. And they know how to be positioned to receive maximum benefit when the reaction comes. Now I need to stop here and speak to you directly, because I know what is happening right now. You are remembering specific moments, specific incidents where you reacted and then watched yourself become the story. And something is happening inside you that is both recognition and shame. The recognition that this has a name, and the shame that it worked on you. I need to tell you something about that shame. The fact that it worked is not evidence of your weakness, or your stupidity, or your instability. It is evidence of how precisely it was designed. Reactive abuse works on people who care, on people who have been trying, on people who have been holding enormous amounts for an enormous amount of time, because they believed the relationship was worth holding for. The fact that you eventually broke under sustained, calculated, deliberate pressure does not make you the abuser. It makes you human. And the mechanism works specifically because of your humanity. Here is what reactive abuse does to you over time. The first thing it does is make you doubt your own perception of what is happening, because you have now seen yourself behave in ways that look bad, ways that you did not think yourself capable of. And so when they tell you that you are unstable, volatile, difficult, too much, some part of you agrees, because you have the evidence, your own behavior, your own reactions, your own raised voice and sharp words, and the moments you are not proud of. What you do not have is the context, because the context was never visible. The second thing it does is shift the moral center of the relationship. Before the reactive abuse, before you had reactions to point to, you were the person being harmed. After the reactive abuse, you are now also a person who caused harm. Or so the story goes. The actual harm, the sustained, systematic, deliberate harm that produced your reaction, has been replaced in the narrative by your response to it. Context gone, cause invisible, effect visible. And suddenly the question is not what they did to you, it is what you did to them. The third thing it does is give them an audience, because a reactive abuse cycle is not just about the two of you, It is about the story they tell everyone else. The friends who heard about your explosion, the family who saw your worst moment, the mutual connections who were told about your instability. They did not tell these people about the months of provocation. They told them about the reaction. And the reaction, stripped of context, looks exactly like what they needed it to look like. The fourth thing it does is keep you in the relationship, because now you have something to apologize for. Now you are the one who needs to make things right. Now the dynamic has shifted so completely that you are spending energy managing your own guilt, while the original harm, the provocation, the systematic undermining, goes unaddressed. And you work harder, try harder, be better, hold more, until the next accumulation builds to the next reaction, and the cycle continues. Now, here is the part nobody says, the part about what your reaction actually was. You were provoked past the point of endurance by a person who specifically intended to provoke you past the point of endurance, and then used your response as evidence of your character. Your response was the predictable, physiologically inevitable result of sustained pressure on a nervous system that had been pushed beyond its capacity. It was not who you are. It was what happens to any human being under sustained, calculated assault on their equilibrium. And the shame you carry for your reactions is shame that belongs to the person who designed the conditions that produced them, not to you. Now, what actually helps? The first thing is naming what happened. Reactive abuse, not mutual abuse, not you being equally at fault, not evidence of your instability. The deliberate engineering of your reaction through sustained provocation. That is what it is. Naming it accurately is the beginning of releasing the shame that was never yours to carry. The second thing is understanding the difference between your reaction and your character. Your reaction was a response to extraordinary pressure. Your character is what you were before the relationship began to grind it down. The patient version, the trying version, the version that held things for far too long because you believed things could be different. That version is still there, underneath the reactions they engineered. It did not disappear. It was suppressed. The third thing is understanding why couples therapy will not help and might make things worse. A narcissist in couples therapy will use the therapeutic space the same way they used every other space, to document your reactions, to present your responses as evidence, to perform vulnerability while you perform accountability. And a therapist who does not understand narcissistic dynamics may do exactly what the narcissist intended. Treat this as a mutual problem requiring mutual change when the dynamic is not. Mutual and the problem is not symmetrical. Individual therapy with a trauma-informed therapist who understands narcissistic abuse is what helps. Not couples work with the person who created the conditions you need to recover from. The fourth thing is understanding that the only way to stop the cycle is to stop participating in it. Not perfectly, not immediately, but gradually, through gray rock, through no contact where possible, through the specific work of learning to recognize the provocation before it reaches the reaction. Reducing your availability as a source of the reaction they were engineering. Your reaction was what they wanted. Your non-reaction is what removes the reward. And now, the thing I promised. The thing nobody says directly to people who are carrying the shame of their reactive abuse. Here it is. The moment you finally reacted, the moment that became the story, was not your worst moment. It was the moment the truth became visible. Not the truth about you, the truth about them. Because a person who provokes their partner into reacting and then uses that reaction as evidence reveals something in that moment that all the performance before it concealed. They reveal that the reaction was the goal, that the provocation was intentional, that the innocence was constructed, that the victimhood was a position they had prepared. Your reaction did not make you the abuser. Your reaction made the abuse visible. For a moment, however briefly, before the reframe, before the narrative reconstruction, before the flying monkeys were briefed and the story was distributed, the truth was in the room. You saw it. Even if no one else did. Even if you spent months doubting what you saw. You were in that room. You know what was actually happening. And you were right. If this video gave you language for something that has been making you doubt yourself for longer than it should have, please share it with one person who is still carrying the shame of their reaction and still calling it evidence of who they are. Tell them what it was actually evidence of. Subscribe. Because this channel exists to give you the language that puts the shame back where it belongs. I will see you in the next one.